Welcome, everyone, to the latest edition of the Marionapolis Athletic Department Alumni Interview Series. My name is Andrew Vitale, and I'm the Director of Athletics at Marionapolis. And today, I'm here with Marionapolis Class of 2013, Wagner University basketball and football player, and Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs offensive tackle, Greg Senat. Greg, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Greg, although you've been away from college for a few years now, tell us a little bit about your experience at transitioning from prep school basketball to playing Division I basketball at Wagner.
The transition was tough at first. Just like with anything in life, when you take a step up, you kind of have to take the step up as well. I mean, the biggest transition for me was getting used to the speed of the game, the strength of everybody at the Division I level, and just learning the X's and O's. So for me, it was my freshman year was just a lot of me understanding defensive rotations, understanding how offenses are supposed to work, understanding that you know every possession down the floor, we're trying to look for a certain thing. Whereas in high school, it was more of just we're trying to win every game, play hard, and do what you can. But in college, it's more of a business, especially at the Division I level. And on top of that, I mean, I think Marinapolis prepared me pretty well for just the course load of college. But in college, you have a lot more free time. It's a little less structured as it was at MPS. So you really had to um, learn how to manage your time correctly. So time management was big for me, learning how to prioritize my classes and prioritize different assignments and things like that. So that way I could get them done and not have them conflict with practice or games or different things like that.
So your senior year, you decided to try something new
Yeah.
and go out for the football team in addition to playing basketball. Tell us about what prompted that decision and what that year of football and basketball was like.
So I tell everybody, I did not like go into that year thinking, oh, I'm gonna try for the football team. It was kind of, I want to say a spur of the moment decision. I like to say that God kind of gave me the inspiration to do it. I just remember the first time of me thinking about even playing football. I was at an away game for basketball. I forgot where we were. It might have been in Pittsburgh or Maryland somewhere. And I was just watching college and NFL football on TV. And I just kind of felt like re-inspired. I felt like something was saying, give it a shot. And I knew that the college, my football coach at Wagner at the time, Coach Haas, was always saying, hey man, you should try out for the team. You're a big kid. I think we can use you this, that, and the third. But my first 3 years of college, I was a basketball player. My dream was to play in the NFL or play overseas. I mean, in the NBA or play overseas. So I never really gave football a second thought. But for some reason, in that moment, I felt like it would be fun. It would be something I could look back on and be proud of that. I tried out for the football team. Hopefully made it. Hopefully been able to contribute and hopefully be able to play. So that was my first thought of playing football. And then when I brought the idea to the head coach, he was all for it. He just wanted to make sure that I focused on the rest of the basketball season at the time and make sure I gave everything I had to basketball, uh, finish as strong as we could. And then when the season was over, I could head over and play football. Thankfully, that year, we made it to the NIT, which was like the first time in school history, and we won in the first round. We beat St. Bonaventure. That's a game I'll never forget. That was an amazing game, just being able to go to their arena up there, up in New York, and just beat them at home, which rarely happens in that kind of situation. So we were able to win. We had a great season. I don't have any regrets from that season, and it just kind of helped me roll right into football that off season and that spring ball. And they had me at tight end at first when I started playing, and then from there I played tight end all through spring ball. And right before camp, they had my coaches, my position coach and my head coach, had pitched me the idea to move over to offensive line, which I never thought about. I never was interested in. I was just wanted to be a tight end, and I wanted to catch passes and this, that, and the third. But I realized that I had made a commitment to the basketball coach and the football coach. I was going to stick this out, and the main thing for me was just I wanted to contribute and help the team any way I could. And if that was me playing offensive line, I was going to do my best to do so. So that summer, I just committed myself to eating as much as I possibly could, I remember my coach would give me like a jar of ice cream at the beginning of the week and buy me pizza throughout the week. He's like, I want to make sure this jar of ice cream and these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are done by Friday to put that on necessary to play offensive line. Yeah, that first year was interesting playing football and basketball. Um, I was still light playing football, but I was having fun and I was doing good. I was learning. I was getting better every week, which kind of helped me stay with it. Every week I'd learn a little more. Every week I'd beat a guy that I thought I couldn't beat the week before, and that just kind of gave me the inspiration to just keep going and stick with it. And I remember that year we didn't have the best season as far as football went. I think we only won about 3 or 4 games out of 10. So we didn't make the playoffs, but it was a fun experience. I made a lot of great relationships. I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about the game of football. I remember that last game of that football season was the first home game of the basketball season. So we had a football game. I think it was like at 12 noon that day. We won that game, and then the first basketball game was that night at like 6. So I remember taking off my pads, showering, and running across the street to the basketball gym to get ready. Jumped in the warm up, started doing the layup lines. Mind you, I haven't practiced. I didn't do any preseason conditioning with the guys. I was just out there. I didn't play that game. My coach didn't want to risk me getting hurt. He's like, "Listen, you just came off a football season. I understand you're excited and you want to, contribute and be a part, but like take a few weeks off, then come back. We'll get you integrated back into playing basketball." But that was a great experience. I mean, I could say I played the Division I football and Division I basketball game in the same day, which was cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that spring you graduate from Wagner.
Mhm.
When did you know that you wanted to go back for another year at Wagner and play football again? And what were you really hoping for to get out of that year?
Well, I kind of knew that the way the rules worked in Division I sports, when you play two sports, the NCAA grants you an extra year, so that way you can get 2 years of that sport that you just switched to. So I kind of found that out halfway through my senior year, which interested me and I wanted to take that opportunity just to focus on football at that point. I mean, I always loved basketball, but throughout that first year playing football, I was getting a lot of good feedback from my coaches and other scouts that would come to our practices and watch us practice that I potentially had a chance to play at the next level. And I had some great coaches that constantly just encouraged me to keep going and encouraged me just to stick with it. So when they presented me the opportunity to play for a fifth year where I could just solely focus on football, I found that hard to turn down. And it also worked out because I did need one more class to graduate at that point, just with some things that went on with my major. I originally wanted there to be a nursing major, but that didn't work out just with the time constraints. Can you hear me, Ro? The time schedule. Sorry, there's some planes going over right now. Right by JFK. Yeah, when I was presented the opportunity, I saw it as an opportunity to, further just my growth as a football player. And, I was getting a lot of good feedback from everyone saying that it would be a good opportunity. So uh, I just took it, and it turned out for the best.
Yeah, and you ended up having an amazing second year playing for Wagner, which led you to be the first player in the conference history to play in the East-West Shrine game, which is a very prestigious game. At what point in that year did you realize that you might have a chance to be drafted in the NFL?
I would say towards the end of this season, I thought it was a real possibility. We started having a lot more scouts show up to practice, and my first season, they would kind of show up to practice to scout everybody and see what we had as a team. And then that second year, more and more started showing up just to see me, which was a shock and like a blessing in itself. And they were all just kind of hyping me up and telling me that they've seen how much I've grown, and they were like, "Hey, if you keep growing and progressing in this way, you might have a real chance." And they were just showing a lot of interest in me. So that was when I first started to believe that I had a chance to at least play in the NFL or at least get a shot. But then after the season ended and I got that invite to the East West Shrine game, and after really doing my research, finding out how like big a game that was and how prestigious that was, I knew that okay, now have a real opportunity to get drafted, especially if I could go to this to this game, and we have a week of practices before the game where there are scouts there watching, and you're being coached by NFL coaches, and I knew if I did what I had to do and showed my abilities that I'd open a lot of eyes. So getting that invite to the East West Shrine game was big and gave me that confidence that I had a chance to get drafted. And after playing in that game, and my team won in that game, which was great, and that was a fun experience. I got the invite to the NFL Combine maybe a few weeks after that, and that was just like even more of a blessing because everyone knows about the Combine. Everyone knows what it means to get invited to that. So that's when I really, really knew, okay, this might become a reality. And mind you, this is me playing the sport only 2 years. Like I started playing the sport to have fun. I started playing the sport because I felt like God was telling me to give it a shot. And I really just, it's crazy what can happen when you just commit yourself to something. You stay humble and you just want to learn. You just want to take in as much as you can. And that's what I learned is just like whenever you step into something new in life that can be scary, something new in life that's different, um, all you can do is control what you can control. And you can control how hard you work. You can control how attentive you are to the people teaching you. You can control how you treat the people around you. And I think that's really, truly what helped me get to the point I am now and just being able to say I was, the first one to ever go to the East West Shrine game or the first person in my school and, whatever was 50 years to get drafted into the NFL. And, you know, truly like when God has something for you, man, like it's gonna be for you no matter what. Like I finished that senior year, I didn't get any all conference honors, I didn't get any type of awards from the conference or anything like that, which could have really killed my confidence. But, you know, God had other plans and that were greater than what was going on, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just saw on the virtual NFL draft that just happened last week, and we know that the NFL draft is 3 days long. Tell us about those 3 days for you, most specifically on Saturday when your name was called by the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, I knew just by talking to my agents at the time that I probably wasn't gonna be a first day guy. I knew that I'd probably get to be a second or third day guy. I had my hopes that I'd be a second day guy. From all indications, I was expecting that to be a possibility. So after the second day passed and my name wasn't called, I was a little disappointed. But I snapped back quickly and I was like, hey, there's still one more day. All I need is one team to see my value and say yes. And that third day, um, my agents helped me rent out this like restaurant bar in New York City where I invited all my family, my parents, my brothers, my trainers, some close friends showed up, and we were just there watching the draft. And it was a little stressful throughout that day because that's rounds 4 through 7. So we were in that restaurant for about 4 or 5 hours just waiting, watching everyone's name be called, and you know, watching a couple of good friends got drafted before me too. I was the last of my good friends to get drafted, so the anxiety starts to build up a little bit. You start looking around the room. People are like, "I hope he gets drafted." You're starting to think about what everyone's thinking, and during that time, you're also getting calls from other teams who want you to come in as a priority free agent. So every time my phone would ring, everyone would look at me. I'd get excited, like, "Oh, this is it! This is it!" And I got like maybe 10 or 12 calls from teams that are like, hey, we're looking to draft you, but if not, we'd love for you to come to us as a free agent because free agents have the choice to pick where they want to go. So I would just pick up the phone, everyone would look, everyone was, oh, is it that? Is it the time? Is it the time? So I got like 10 or 15 calls, and I was just, oh man, this might not happen. I might not get drafted. And out of nowhere, I get a call from a Maryland number, and I pick it up expecting it to be one more of those calls. And I pick it up, and it's Ozzie Newsome, who's the old GM of the Baltimore Ravens at the time. And he's like, "Hey, Greg, this is Ozzie Newsome of the Baltimore Ravens. How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great, sir. How are you?" He's like, "Are you ready to be a Raven?" I was like, "Yes, sir. Please. I've been here for hours. Thank you for the opportunity. Like, I really appreciate." He's like, "Hey, we see you as a very talented player. We're excited to have you." And he passed the phone over to Coach John Harbaugh at the time, and I got to talk to him a little bit. And he just expressed to me how excited that they were able to pick me. And I went to a back room to answer that phone call. So when I came back out and I announced to all my friends and family, like, the Ravens just said they're gonna draft me, we just all exploded with excitement. It was an amazing moment to see my family, my parents excited. My parents are immigrants from Haiti. So like they've been working their entire lives just to give me and my brothers an opportunity to succeed. So I knew that was like a huge moment for them to see their firstborn son like achieve his dream like that. So it was a very emotional day. It was a bunch of excitement. I got like 2,000 phone calls and text messages that day. It was insane. It's hard to put into words, but it's amazing when like everything comes together and you feel like everything you've worked for um, has paid off. You know.
So now you're a Super Bowl champion and heading into your third season in the NFL, second with the Chiefs. Outside of the obvious answer, which is winning the Super Bowl last year, what have been a few highlights and memorable moments over the last 2 years for you?
A few highlights, memorable moments. I would say for me personally is just being a part of two really great teams. Like being a part, getting drafted by the Ravens, and being able to be a part of that process of them building up that organization to what it is now. Like they had an amazing season last year, and a lot of those guys that are on that team are still friends of mine. Lamar and all those other guys are great, and just being able to see that growth, getting drafted, being able to be embraced by an organization like that. Um, and my story. I was hurt my first year, which was tough. So I had to sit out a lot and kind of watch from the sidelines as everything was going on around me. So I had to kind of grow a lot mentally and in dealing with that and understanding like everything happens for a reason. Just got to be patient, control what I can control, kind of like the way I was in college, and just keep pushing. And coming back last off season, last camp, and playing well and making the team after being out the entire year with an injury. Like that was a huge accomplishment for me. Like I was so excited that I was able to do that and prove to myself that I have what it takes to play at this level. And getting released by the Ravens week 2 of last season um, was I wouldn't say it was like a tough or a sad situation because I guess I'd built up some sort of mental toughness throughout just those past 2 seasons, understanding like everything happens for a reason. Whatever happens after this, it's meant to be the way that it was. And then to get a call from the Chiefs 2 days after being released and saying they want to pick me up was just even more confirmation. Like, okay, I'm where I need to be, and going from one great team to another great team and seeing how they work playing with a bunch of other really great future Hall of Famers in their own right and with future Hall of Fame coaches and just being in a different organization, being in a different city, uh, learning all over again. Like I try to look at the little things as accomplishments, like little growths that I do, little things that I get better at. Just being a part of the Chiefs in itself was an accomplishment. You know?
Although you were drafted into the NFL in 2018, way back in 2011, you were drafted by me in the
Yeah.
late hours of a hoop group elite camp, which then started your relationship with me and obviously with Marianapolis. What did the 2 years you spent in Marianapolis mean to you? And what are some of your fondest memories of Marianapolis?
Uh, Being at Marianapolis taught me a lot. I mean, that was the first time. I'm from Queens, Long Island. Always lived at home. Never really uh, lived away for a significant amount of time. So going to Marianapolis, learning to be on my own, living in the dorms, meeting all the great guys from like all over the world. Like I have friends from China. I still have friends from Russia, Africa. Like just being able to experience the world in a different view. Like I remember uh, all the road trips we would take to play games, going out to New Hampshire, going out to Boston, and just playing against some great competition, like competition that I wasn't used to, but so excited just to compete and be in that environment, meeting new people. Like my host family's my first year was the fourth, and like just being able to spend time with them at their house with their family, and just seeing how different people are and how different people are from different parts of the world. And I think it just kind of opened my eyes and just you know there's a lot of things that man leap week, rake day, like little things like that that just allowed us to all come together as like a school and a family. And Yeah, I mean, Marinapolis was great. It taught me a lot. It opened my eyes to the world, something that I probably would never have experienced if I just stayed home and stayed where I'm from.
Lastly, what advice would you give to our Marionapolis student athletes who aspire to be high-level collegiate players and/or professional athletes?
I would tell them, um, always believe in yourself, as cliche as it sounds. I would tell them not to listen to all the negative voices in your life, because there's always going to be people that are going to say you're not good enough. There's always going to be people that are going to say you shouldn't even try this. Like, this is not what you're good at. This is not what's for you. But only you know what is for you. Only you know what you're gonna be good at. I would say always work hard. Keep really good, positive people in your circle. Be very smart about being around like-minded people, because you are ultimately going to be who you hang around the most. And that's one thing that I've learned just in my, my short path so far is like it's very important that the people that you're around are on the same page as you, because it's so easy to get thrown left and thrown right by the voices in your life. So making sure that you're working hard, making sure that you keep good people around you, making sure that you stay positive and you keep the negative voices and negative people away from you.
Greg, thank you so much for taking the time today to do this. We hope you and your family continue to stay safe, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Vitale. I appreciate you having me on.